Kuf Aleph Amud Beis 101b. We're in the middle of describing Yerovam and his mistakes, and how he broke away from the Davidic line, and how he publicly shamed Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, even though his claim was correct, but doing so in public was in itself wrong. And thus, on the one hand, he was rewarded with being king, because he was correct in his claim, but nonetheless, it was the beginning of his downfall, considering that the way he started was wrong. Now the Gemara is going to go on to describe the continuation of his downfall, and how his pride, which was the original mistake, rebuking someone in public is, again, as we talked about yesterday, an issue of pride, and that pride continued leading him down the wrong path. So let's see. The line starts with the word Rav Nachman, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines, 6 words in is Amar Rav Nachman, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines up from the bottom of the page. The first word in the line is Rav Nachman, and you keep on going in, and it's Amar Rav Nachman. Kof Aleph Amud Beis 101b. Okay, Amar Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman states, Gasser ruach shal yibay b'Yerovam, the arrogance that Yerovam had, Tirdasim and Olam, led him down a path leading him out of the world. It means it bothered him out of the world. Tirdasim and Olam, it dragged him out of the world. It means his pride led him down a path of negativity, a spiral down. As you mentioned yesterday, it started off with arrogance, in that he rebuked Shlomo HaMelech in public. Rebuking done correctly is in private. It's not okay, so where's the arrogance? Says the Gemara, the Shenemar, as the verse reads. The verse is in Kings 1, chapter 12. Vayem Yerovam b'liboy. And Yerovam says in his heart, says to himself, thinks to himself, Ato, now I have a problem. Because Tashav HaMamlech Beis David, the sovereignty, the kingdom will return to the house of David, meaning to King Shlomo and his children, Rechavam and others. Rechavam, his son, and then afterwards. Why? If the people will go to Yerushalayim, to the house of God, to the temple, to bring their offerings, then when they go there, that's the dominion of Rechavam, of Shlomo HaMelech, of Shlomo HaMelech's children, of the Davidic line. And the people's heart will return to their original masters, to the original leaders, to Rechavam, king of Yehuda. And they'll kill me, because I'm a usurper. As they say it? Usurper, yeah. I'm a dissident, I'm a breakaway. And they'll return to Rechavam, king of Yehuda, the Southern Kingdom, son of Shlomo. So what was the calculation he made in his heart? Why would going to serve Hashem in the temple undermine his leadership? So says the Gemara, Amar Yerovam made the following calculation. Gemiri, the halacha is, the ein yishiv b'azara, one is not allowed to sit in the courtyard of the temple. The Azara is a section of the temple which the Jews are allowed to enter. There are various different sections of the temple, and they get progressively more holy as you go farther north. As you go farther north, it gets progressively more holy until you get to the Holy of Holies.
More like the east. Sorry, west. You went west.
No.
East to west.
No, because you enter from the southern side.
Yeah, but the actual you enter from the east.
You go from east to west. Yes, sorry, east to west. Right. You walk towards the west. That's right. You enter from the south and you make our left. That's correct. Just thinking you enter from the south. That's right. You enter from the south and you make a left. That's right. So you're walking east to west. You get progressively more holy, and as you get more holy, there's more restrictions on who can walk in. And the Azara is where the population of Jewish people can go, as opposed to the priests who go in further. So even in this Azara, even this outer chamber, known as the Azara, one is not allowed to sit. Ella, with the exception of Malchei Beis Yehuda, with the exception of kings that come from the Davidic line. That's what Malchei Beis Yehuda is. So even if a King Shaul, let's say, was a legitimate king of Israel, but he came from the house of Binyamin, he wouldn't be able to sit in the Azara, even though it existed before the temple stood. But in theory, likewise, the Chashmonaim, who were kings later in the second temple, legitimate or illegitimate, either way, when they were kings, they couldn't sit in the Azara because they're not from the Davidic line. So Yerovam knows he's not part of the Davidic line. He's not a child of Shlomo Melech or David, so he can't sit in the Azara. Bilvad alone, only those in the Davidic line are allowed to sit in the Azara. So what's going to happen? When all the Jews go down to the temple, they're going to see Kivan Rechavam Yosef. They're going to see Rechavam, who is from the Davidic line, son of King Solomon, son of King David, to Yosef, and he's going to be sitting in the Azara because he's allowed to. Vana, and I, Kamina, am standing nearby. So let's say I went down to the temple and they didn't do anything to me, but he'll be sitting, I'll be standing. So it's going to be a clear indication that he's the legit king. Savri, they're going to think, the people are going to think, Ha Malka, here's the king, Vaha Abdan, here's the servant. Just like it was in King David's time, that Yerovam's father was a servant of David. And that's what they're going to say the same thing. Rechavam's king, Yerovam's a servant. So what's my solution? I should sit to prove the point that I am king. V'yasvina, and if I'm going to sit, half the population is going to look at me and say, this guy is rebelling because he's acting like king when he's not. And they're going to kill me on the spot. And then anybody's going to follow Rechavam, son of Shlomo, son of David. So either way I go, they're not going to serve me as king. If I stand, they won't kill me, but they're all going to follow Rechavam. If I sit, they're going to kill me, and then they're going to follow Rechavam. So going to the temple is bad news for my legitimacy as king. Now, in theory, what he could have done is allowed everybody to go, and he stay in the north and not go himself, and risk it. Either people will come back or won't come back to be part of his kingdom. But his arrogance in saying he wants to prove his position led him to the following. So miyad, right away, the next verse reads, Vayayetz HaMelech, and the king Yerovam consulted with his people. What should he do to prevent the people from returning to Rechavam of the Davidic line in the Southern Kingdom of Yehuda? And what he did was, he came to the following conclusion. Vayas, and he made Shnei Eglei Zav, two golden golden calves, idols. And he told the people, Rav Lachem Ma'ales Yerushalayim. It's too burdensome to go all the way to Jerusalem. You don't need to do that. Hina lekecha Yisrael. Behold, here's your God, O Israel, Asher Aluchem Eretz Mitzrayim, which you brought with you from the land of Egypt. Vayasam Echad Beis El. He made two, one in the city of Beis El, Echad Nasam Bedan, and the other one he put in Dan. And thus he told the people, you don't need to go to Jerusalem. You have a God right here. So it wasn't because he actually believed in those gods. That's what the point the Gemara is making. It's not that he didn't believe in these gods. As we'll certainly learn later, he was a big Torah scholar, as we'll see soon, and which is why he even brought with him some prophets, namely Achiash Eloni, as we'll learn soon. But his arrogance in understanding that the people need to have a center to serve Hashem, and he knew that the center is in Yerushalayim, and he himself would have wanted to go there, but his arrogance prevented him from doing that, which led him to creating a false god that he himself didn't necessarily believe in, but just to give the people some other place of worship so that they don't go to Yerushalayim. Eventually he even put roadblocks and didn't allow people to go, because people wanted to go even though there was idols. They still wanted to go to Yerushalayim. He put roadblocks at the penalty of death, as we shall learn soon. Okay, says the Gemara. This verse, which describes that Yerovam built these idols, these two houses of idol worship, in an attempt to provide the people with a house of worship other than Yerushalayim, so that they don't go there and return to the Southern Kingdom, return to the Davidic line, opens up with the words Vayoyetz, and he consulted. Or another way of saying he consulted is, another way of translating Vayoyetz is, and he schemed. So there's a council, but there's a scheme. And the verse is kind of left open for interpretation, because it says, the king counseled, and he did. It doesn't say they counseled him. In other words, ordinarily it would say he consulted with the people, and the people advised him. It doesn't say that. It says he counseled, and he did. So what was the counsel? What was the scheme he did? It's leaving for some sort of political scheming that the king himself did to get to his conclusion, not that he actually counseled with them. So the Gemara is going to tell us what that is. So what's the meaning of this scheme, this counsel that he did? So Amar Yehuda says, Shahayshi v'ratza Rasha Eitzel Tzaddik. He has a whole advisory board, and he positioned them in such a way that he had a wicked person who's okay with idol worship, and he positioned that person to be right next to a tzaddik, right next to a righteous person who would have ordinarily never condoned idol worship. And they put them together. Why? For the following. Amar lahu, he told his councilmen, there's a line of wicked sitting next to the righteous. And he told them, Chasmisu, sign al kol davdinu. Will you sign whatever I ask you to sign? Amrule, they told him, yes. Because at the time, Yerovam was actually a Torah scholar, as I mentioned. He was not an idol worshiper. He only went later because of his arrogance, as the Gemara tells us. And many actually felt that the Southern Kingdom, the Davidic line, especially after King Solomon's wives themselves were idol worshippers, many actually felt that King Solomon strayed. And some actually backed Yerovam, hoping that Yerovam himself would return the people to the service of Hashem. But again, because of his arrogance, it actually went the other way and went worse. But at the time, some of them felt that this is the right way to go. So he had some righteous counsel with him. And then when he asked them, will you sign whatever I ask you to? They said yes. She said, okay. Amar Husay told them, Malkabinim will have me. I want to become king. I want to undermine the kingdom of the Davidic line, of Rechavam, of Shlomo and Rechavam. Amrulay, they said to him, yes, we're on board. So he said, Kol dar minu lochav disu. Whatever I ask you to do, if I'm king, then you have to follow whatever I command. And if whatever I ask you to do, you're going to do, they said, yes, we're accepting you as king, we'll do what you ask. And then he said, even if I'm going to impose that the people worship idols, so Amrulay Tzaddik, those are the righteous amongst them in this council, said to him, Chas Shalom, God forbid. We're taking you as king, but the whole reason why we're taking you as king is because we want you to restore the Jewish people to serve God. And if you're going to ask for idol worship, we're out. But Amrulay Rosh Tzaddik, so the wicked one sitting next to the Tzaddik said, come on, Salt Kadaitach, do you really think the Gavra Yerovam, that a person like Yerovam, Palach Levet Chavim, is going to make the people worship idols? Nah. He's just testing us. Ikablisu lememre, if we're going to accept his proclamations. In other words, the wicked were telling the righteous, okay, don't take it literally. He's just trying to go extreme. He's saying, whatever I ask you to do, even idol worship, but not that he's actually going to do it. So just say yes so we can get this thing over with. And that was a scheme to get them on board. Even Achia Shiloini, the great Achia Shiloini prophet, who was originally with King David, the great prophets, made the mistake, v'chasam, and signed. I read here from the Ramah that the mistake of Achia Shiloini was not to endorse Yerovam. That was okay. To endorse Yerovam was okay as king because the Southern Kingdom, as I mentioned, even the Davidic line was going in the idol worship direction. So Yerovam was right, but he should have stipulated clearly, I'm only signing on condition that you don't do idol worship. And the mistake was they trusted Yerovam that Yerovam wouldn't do it. The endorsing of Yerovam itself was okay. The mistake was not to stipulate specifically that I'm only endorsing you as king so long as you don't lead the people down an idol worship path. And that stipulation, the specific stipulation, was the mistake.
Isn't King Yerovam the one who appears to Baal Shem Tov?
That's correct. Achia Shiloini is the spiritual teacher of the Baal Shem Tov. That's right. It's correct.
Why did he leave King David?
Well, King David's already dead.
Oh.
But he left the Davidic line because, as I mentioned, Shlomo Melech's wives introduced idol worship. And initially, Yerovam's claim was, I'm going to restore it the way it's supposed to be. And people knew Yerovam because, again, his family were part of the court of King David. They were councilmen. So many backed Yerovam in hopes to bring the Jewish people back to serving Hashem. But again, that was a mistake, and it ended up leading down to a path of even worse idol worship. Okay, so even Achia Shlein himself assigned on board with Yerovam, and in this mistake, without the stipulation that I'm signing on condition that there's no idol worship. And what happened was, generations later, this led to an even greater mistake, which is the Yahu. I think you pronounce it Yahu, right? Yehu.
Yeah.
The Yehu is a character later, a grandson. I think he's a descendant of Achia Shloni. Isn't that correct? Isn't Yehu a descendant of Achia Shloni?
Or Google.
I'm not sure, but Yehu is a councilman that comes up later in the house of Ahab, 2 or 3 generations later, also in the Southern Kingdom. Meaning he counts as a grandson of Rechavam, or Ahab is a son of Rechavam, or grandson. Don't remember, but he's a king in the south who comes later, and Yehu is a councilman there. And Yehu, the Gemara says, the Yehu, Tzaddik Rabba Hava, was a wonderful, righteous man. And the proof is, Shneimar, as the verse reads, excuse me, the verse reads later in Kings 2. Vayomer Shema Yehu, and God says to Yehu, Yan, in response to Asher Tivas Las Yesh Be'enai, in response to the fact that you've done the righteous and good thing in my eyes, Kachol Asher B'Lavavia, Asisa, everything that's in my heart, God says, Asisa, you've done the base Achav to the house of Achav. Meaning, because you counsel the house of Achav, and you're trying to counsel them in the right direction. This is God's telling Yehu this. Therefore, says God, B'nei Raviyim Yeshvu Lecha Al Kisa Yisrael. 4 generations from now, your children will sit on this throne. This is what the pasuk says. The point being that Yehu is a good guy. But then, the verse reads later, literally the next verse. The first verse reads that God says to Yehu, you're amazing, and your grandchildren are going to sit on the throne as a reward for being amazing. And the next verse reads that Yehu but Yehu failed to guard the path of Hashem, Yisrael, the God of Israel, and with all his heart, and he did not take the people back from the mistakes that Yerovam did, which he made the people sin by following idol worship. So which one is it? Was Yehu just finished saying that Yehu is a good guy, and now you're saying that Yehu failed to return the people to the right path, and he let them go down the path that Yerovam began? So which one is it? So says the my Gromale. What caused them, even though he's a good person, what caused them to allow the mistakes of Yerovam to continue generations later? Amar Abaye says, B'ris Kruselis Vasayim. It was lip service that he paid. That was his mistake. Namely, because he tried to appease the people who fought the priests of the Baal. The Baal was the popular idol worship of the day. And Yehu, as his councilman, as his man of the court, tried to appease the people of the priesthood of the Baal, the idol worshippers, to try to appease them, try to get them back. He was trying to do a scheme, and it was a mistake, because he said, Achav avad Baal ma'at. Achav, the king Achav, served the Baal a little bit. But Yehu, myself, Yavdenu Harbe, I served them a lot, trying to gain their favor and hopefully get them to not recruit people to their camp, and saying like, I'm on your team. So those words were the mistake, says Abaye. Now Rava says, taking us back to our original point of our story, he saw the signature of Achia Shaloni. We mentioned before that Achia Shaloni was a prophet, and he signed on for Yerovam to come king. And he made the mistake of not putting a stipulation saying that I'm only signing Yerovam as king so long as there's no idol worship. And precisely because Achia Shaloni signed, Yehu looked at the signature and said, look, Achia Shaloni is on board. Which means, even if things don't look perfect, it's worthwhile going there, because you hope you're going to get in the good way direction later. And Yehu said the same thing. He said, I'm going to back up Achav, even though Achav's not behaving correctly, because hopefully he's going to go in the right way. And that was the mistake.
Sounds like the Israeli cabinet, like all kinds of compromises. Yeah, we'll just sign here.
Yep. I guess the lesson is, knowing, the Gemara says elsewhere that when it comes to negotiations, a person who's strong like a cedar will break, right? You have to be like a reed where you can move back and forth. But even a reed has its roots in the ground. You have to have your principles. What are my principles? And no, you don't cross them. You can You can negotiate with this and with that, but when it comes to your principles, know what they are and never cross those lines. Otherwise, it has effects for generations to come, and people will follow precedent. Look, even he did it, and no one's supposed to know what went on in your head, that you're making a compromise and hoping to get somewhere.
You keep moving the red line. Yeah, this is my red line.
That's
a
right.
Little more, a little more, yeah. Like Obama.
Yeah.
Syria.
Okay, one more verse and one more interpretation. So the Gemara is like this. The Ksiv, with respect to the verse which reads, "V'shachat ha'shetim hemiku v'ani moiser l'kulam." The apostates dug deeper than what I have. God say that the usurpers have dug deeper than what I have instructed on my people. They've gone worse than me. So the verse sounds a little bit odd. The usurpers got worse than God. I mean, they've gone a different direction. Like what did God do that way they went further? So Omar Bechon explains. Omar Kadosh Baruch Hu, God says, "Hey mi mikum shali." They've made it worse than what I have said. Namely, Ani Amarti, says God said, Kosh in il-regel, anyone who does not ascend to Jerusalem during the 3 festivals of Pesach, Sukkot, and Shavuos, everybody has failed to do a positive commandment. There's a positive commandment that on every of the 3 Shalosh Regalim, the 3 holidays, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, one's obligated to go to the temple. Okay? So if a person doesn't do it, so you violate a positive commandment. Alright? But Vehem Amru, the people of Yerovam, Amru, they said, Kol oil regel, anyone who does go to the temple for Jerusalem, Yitkar B'cherav, will be stabbed with a sword. As I mentioned before, first he set up idols, hoping to persuade the people and say, look, you have your own gods, you have gods to serve, you don't have to go to the temple. And later he actually put roadblocks, and on pain of death, anyone who tried to go to Jerusalem for the holidays was killed. So I said, if you fail to go to the holidays, you'll violate a positive commandment, and they've gone even worse. And if you do go, you get killed. So this we'll stop over here where the Gemara discusses Yerovam's mistakes and the things that happen around him. We're going to come back to that, but tomorrow the Gemara is going to take a small break and discuss this idea of opportune times. That there are opportune times for things to happen, and a person has to be wary of opportune times for the negative, and a person has to chaperayim, take advantage of opportune times for the positive. And the Gemara is going to cite a number of verses in that direction. All right, have a wonderful day, everybody.